Okay, tell me what you just said about contract walkthroughs this week.
So we've done 3 contract walkthroughs in the past 2 days, and immediately after,
Oh,
all
because
three
it's what? It's
contracts were
Thursday?
signed.
So, okay,
Yes.
3 contract write-ups or walkthroughs. Did you do the write-ups too?
Yes.
Okay, so somebody put in an order, asked for a contract write-up, you nailed that, and then did a scheduled seller walkthrough, a couple of them back to back, if I recall, one right
Yes.
after the other, and they're signing at the end of these sessions because you're doing what? How does that work?
So it kind of depends on the client whether they want me to read through it line by line or if they want me to give an overview of each section. One of them was like, I would rather read through it with you and then I'll stop you with any questions. But for all 3 of them, depending on their situations, the results were the same. We were able to get them all signed.
How can people set themselves up for success when they're doing a contract write-up? Because there's a lot of questions about that. And what I don't want is somebody to pay for something that's not set up for success. So what they need a good verbal agreement on the front end, right? It's not like a maybe sort of thing, right? How
Yes.
does that look?
So a lot of times whenever I see delays in the contract write-up process, it's because they're still technically in negotiating
Still negotiating. Exactly.
stage and they haven't had a verbal confirmation and the seller is not actually ready to go. For
So
example, this week we had a contract write-up come in and the seller was not at all ready. They scheduled for me to do the contract write-up and a seller walkthrough. When I was trying to schedule the seller walkthrough, she freaked out, stating that she can't even believe we called. She told the buyer that she wasn't ready.
yeah, so I think that's a good point. We're not your closer. You need to have a verbal close, right? All the terms, like they should not be surprised when the sub to addendum shows up in that call or on the contract that gets sent over if you don't do a seller walkthrough. And so that seller walkthrough includes some what Q&A, some objections overcoming, and some explaining of how the process works right now through escrow and after escrow. So that's where they get to ask questions, and if they need a slight modification, we don't negotiate on anybody's behalf, but we'll take notes and allow people to revise. But if you're slinging an offer, you're wasting money.
Exactly. Because I've also seen when people work with realtors, they
Mhm.
haven't actually talked to anybody and they're expecting us to put in an offer to the realtor that
Nah,
may or may not stick.
yeah, don't do that. I don't like seeing
And
people waste
that,
money. Right. And we've got to pay people for their time involved in these contract write-ups. I'm not personally doing it, and it's not charity, but we're good at what we do, and we want you to be successful too. So if you're going through a realtor, that's okay, but it's harder, I promise. And if you have not had a three-way conversation or direct communication with a seller, whether the realtor's involved or not, then you probably don't have a deal. I would recommend you not pay for any services for a contract write-up if you don't have a verbal close from the actual seller. And if there's an agent on board, they better not act like a blocker. So they need to be on board too. I think that'll help a lot of people with their success rate in these things, so that they understand where to get to the point where we got 3 in a row that sign. Every once in a while we've got one that doesn't sign because they didn't know what they were getting into. And when we get into explaining how the sub 2 works and they have their questions, it doesn't work. We also don't send the contract early. We want to be there to explain it when they have questions. They don't have to sign on the phone with us. We do ask for that at the end. Is there any reason you need to? Is there any reason you wouldn't sign right now? Are we agreed? Does this all make sense? But if they want to delay, they can. But we want to be there to catch those first questions. We don't want Google to be the first catch. We don't want somebody's cousin or their realtor or somebody else to be the first catch of, well, how does this work? Isn't this illegal? What if this? What if that? We want to be there to catch those questions because we have good answers. And that's why
right.
people hire us. So great work. Congratulations on 3 in a row in 2 days. Good
Yes.
work.
Thank you.
Let's go get some more.
Yes, sir.